Bonjour, mon nom est Audrey et je suis assistante de recherche pour l'ERRSA Québec. Et aujourd'hui, je me situe à Jojoke, qui est un territoire ancestral occupé par les Haudénosaunee, donc les Kanien'kehá:ka, mais aussi qui a été visité historiquement par les Anishinabeg. On vous invite tous à partager le territoire sur lequel vous vous trouvez aujourd'hui et les peuples autochtones qui ont sillonné et façonné le territoire sur lequel vous vous trouvez.
Et nous vous souhaitons la bienvenue au 9e et dernier webinaire de la série Pratiques innovantes et prometteuses favorisant la réconciliation, l'autochtonisation et la décolonisation des milieux postsecondaires et la réussite et la persévérance des étudiants autochtones. Ce webinaire portera aujourd'hui sur la recherche et les institutions par et pour les communautés autochtones.
Merci, Léla. La recherche et les institutions par et pour les communautés autochtones s'inscrivent dans une perspective d'autochtonisation décoloniale telle que décrite par Gaudry et Lorenz. En effet, celle-ci réaffirme les façons de savoir, les visions du monde et les pratiques éducatives diverses des premiers peuples, tout en contestant l'hégémonie des paradigmes occidentaux. Ainsi, la recherche et les institutions par et pour les communautés supportent la résurgence des épistémologies autochtones, entre autres par la culture, les systèmes de gouvernance, les savoirs et les façons d'être, tout en centrant leurs activités autour des enjeux, des perspectives et des besoins des premiers intéressés. La recherche menée par et pour les communautés renforce les capacités locales des membres, répond aux priorités établies par les communautés et favorise son autodétermination. À l'heure actuelle, au Québec, il y a un petit nombre d'institutions postsecondaires et de centres et de projets de recherche dont la gouvernance est entièrement assumée par les premiers peuples. Malgré leur travail et retombées importants, ceux-ci rencontrent des défis majeurs auprès des acteurs autochtones, tant en termes de reconnaissance et de valorisation que de ressources et de financement. Le dernier webinaire de la série va mettre de l'avant les voix des personnes qui œuvrent dans ces organismes, et on est vraiment très content des trois organisations qui sont représentées aujourd'hui. First, we have four presenters from the Chisasibi EU Resource and Research Institute that we lovely call the CERI. With us, we have Dante Torio, who is the coordinator, Nicolas Chakapash, who is responsible of geomatics and mapping of waterfowl habitat in his strapline. We have Preston Sam, who is the COVID-19 monitoring in the community's wastewater facility. And finally, Preston Bobish, who is responsible for water quality and erosion study in the community. So I will just now remove the pin and feature those amazing four men. Here we go. So the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dante Torio. Let me just share my screen for presentation. All right. Let me know if you can see it.
We can see it beautifully.
Okay. So my name is Dante Torio. I'm a marine biologist. My presentation for today is about traditional ecological knowledge and scientific research. So I work with CERI since 2019, and CERI is the Chisasibi EU Resource and Research Institute. I think it's the second community-based and community-led research in the province of Quebec. And we are presenting to you from the Cree Nation of Chisasibi. So we do a lot of research here at CERI, but I will focus mainly on eelgrass and geese because these are the most valued resources for the community. I will try to keep my presentation brief so my other colleague can speak. So basically, I will give a brief overview of how traditional ecological knowledge plays its role in the research. So first and foremost, it guides the research. So we listen to elder stories about plants, animals, and the things that they eat and what what outcomes do the birds happen to the birds when eating those plants. These are important topics in terms of health and well-being of the community because they depend heavily in hunting these wild game as part of their tradition and culture. So eelgrass plays an important role in maintaining a good quality harvest, especially for waterfowl. So one of the fundamental importance of the traditional ecological knowledge is it helps researchers like us to ask the right question. So like for instance, these are the research questions that we are trying to answer in our research. Basically, the question is, what is in the eelgrass that makes geese fat? Because fat is a measure of quality of geese harvest in the community. And why did geese stop eating eelgrass? And what causes eelgrass to turn black, short, and slimy? So these are the questions that we ask coming from the community. So these are not questions from the researchers, but it is the community who asks this question. And we turn them into a scientific research. So just to give you an example or to give you an overview of our results so far by doing this project, we made a link between the high amount of sugar in eelgrass and geese fat. So it is the high amount of sugar in eelgrass that makes geese fat and tasty. So with the help of traditional knowledge, we came up with new discoveries, new knowledge added to what is already known in terms of the ecology of eelgrass. And also, we asked the question, what might have caused eelgrass disappearance in Chisasibi? Because in Chisasibi, there was a massive decline of eelgrass, which started in the early 90s. And that has a very devastating consequence for the geese harvest in the community. So we found in our research an infestation by small and slimy cocoonies. It's the name of the diatom or algae that sticks to the leaves of eelgrass and cover them, smother them, and that affects their photosynthetic capabilities. Meaning, when plant is not able to photosynthesize efficiently, the sugar content in their leaves gradually decreases in time, through time. And why are geese avoiding eelgrass now? Is that because eelgrass is now less sweet, and because of these organisms that covers the leaves, the geese are now avoiding them because these organisms are made up of silica, which is like eating for the geese. It would be like eating shards of glass that can irritate their throat. So we found all these discoveries thanks to the use of traditional ecological knowledge. So all of our research so far are guided by the same principle of having the traditional ecological knowledge guides the research questions, guides the selection of research locations or monitoring sites, and also our choice of scientific techniques and instruments. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for this opportunity. If you have more questions towards the end about my presentation, I'd be happy to provide them. So we go next. Nicholas?
Yes,
Okay. Yeah. Hold on, I'll just share Nicholas' slides. Comment there. Next. Introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Nicholas Chekapesh. I am a co-researcher here at CERI. Been working here for about 2 years now. My presentation.
Sorry.
When water fell and the keys, snowgeese, ducks, all sorts of species of ducks, tundra swans begin to migrate from their annual migrations northward. They congregate in very large numbers along the coast of James Bay and inhabit pretty much all the wetland available for them. The methods I use to develop the map is using Google Earth Engine and the QGIS software. Instrument used to classify the map, which is seen on the right side. Oh, I forgot the picture.
It's okay.
The satellite on the picture right on the right. The Sentinel-2 multispectral imagery. The Copernicus Sentinel-2 mission based on a constellation of 2 identical satellites with the same orbit. Each satellite carries an innovative wide swath of high resolution multispectral imagery, 13 spectral bands for no perspective of our land and vegetation. That was not what I was talking about. Here you can see the classification of the Broken River. The red areas highlight where waterfall congregate during their spring and fall migration, which provides us identifications of your other potential waterfowl habitats. Possibly it could have an enhancement that could take place. Well, to explain a little bit about the classification I have there, there's a creek that runs through under that red area there. It's where the geese and ducks tend to feed, hang out.
Yeah.
Well, during the summer months, we have observed geese grazing on berries and grass that are found in open meadows during fall migration, more often since the decline of eelgrass, which Dante has talked about. All these photos were required by visiting the location and guidance of local land users, tallymen. We've also observed ducks feeding on horsetail. Thank you.
Okay, last time.
Dante, can I ask you for the other presentations just to make sure that your colleagues get closer to the screen so we can hear them better? I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, Nicholas.
All right. Okay.
Because it's very interesting, and I just want to make sure that we can hear it well.
Okay. Certain. Sample view. Okay, so
Gotta go back one slide. Oh, there it is.
there it is.
You guys see everything? Huh?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Preston Bobish. Where's the note?
No, it's
Okay. All right. My presentation will be focusing on the Fort George erosion study. So yeah, I've been working on this for about over a year. I was assigned by UCAT, the university located in Amos. We decided to work on this quite over a year ago, and yeah. So this is the location of Fort George. I made the map. It's just to give you a general location where it is. It's in that yellow area, just northwest of capacities. Yeah, and the road. The end of the road here is called Ottawa-Scotch, South Coast Road. So the background, the island is quite important to us. We use it for what we call Mamwidao, it's like a thing that everyone gets together in the summertime. And we do social activities, like fun and games and whatnot. And we also use it for hunting, fishing, trapping all year round. People used to live on the island of Fort George until 1980 due to the increased erosion discharge from the river. Now, another important info for people is that there's still unmarked graves on the island that we are currently trying to find. The environmental aspects, yeah, there's presence of former landfill and potential contaminated sites. Some areas, there's buildings that have eroded already on nearby the shorelines. There's probably likely caused from the La Grande River. And also, island, it consists a lot of sand deposits, so it makes sense that it's highly erodible. The photo on the left shows the northeast side of the island. I did a study around that area, and what you see there along the shore here is about 31% loss from erosion, and we know that the erosion is really coming in fast, because on the next photo here you can see these healthy trees falling into this sort of like a pit. And another concern too for the environment is that there's this orange discharge coming out of the ground from the island. And the picture on the far right shows the landfill sites that I mentioned earlier. It's slowly appearing from the ground, and it's slowly eroding out towards the bay. So there's definitely a huge concern about that. Here I used Google Earth or to measure the shorelines. So here you would see it's on the northeast side of the island. I was going to add a map to show you exactly where, but I forgot. So each line represents different times. So here was back in 1956 shoreline, 1985, the red, and so forth. So there's a big major change. We can all see. The latest one I've done is 2021. The reason why there's different dates like that is because it was available to me on Google Earth. And I had some help from a colleague or a professor in at UCAT. He provided me the old photo from 1956. So, and he helped me georeference the location. I think that's about it for me. Yeah, it's an ongoing project. It's gonna take some time. Yeah. If you guys have any questions at the end, I'll be available. Thank you.
Your turn, sir.
Ready?
Hold on. This one to share first. Okay.
Okay, hi, my name is Preston Sam. Today I'll be presenting more about wastewater surveillance. I just started working there 5 months ago, 6 months ago. So I'll just be explaining the basics. First, you might ask, what is wastewater surveillance? Well, wastewater surveillance is an innovative solution that is proving to be a valuable tool for detecting COVID-19. It works by, you might ask, how does it work? Well, it works by analyzing the sewage of communities for the presence of the virus. And it can provide early warning signals of outbreaks before they become widespread. How does it work? Next slide. The introduction. Wastewater testing in the Cree Nation is used as an early warning signal, early warning detection system for SARS-CoV-2, which is the virus that causes COVID-19. This project started on July 28, 2021. It was a community-driven project that community leaders requested. And it's supported by National Microbiology Laboratory. When we work in a COVID-19 laboratory, strict protocols must be followed to ensure the safety of workers and prevent the spread of the virus. This typically includes wearing personal protective equipment such as gloves, masks, gowns, and safety goggles. It is our responsibility to follow these protocols and to ensure the accuracy and reliability of our results. By doing so, we can play a critical role in the ongoing efforts to detect and prevent the spread of COVID-19. Methods and lab instruments. We use a combination of advanced instruments to detect the presence of SARS-CoV-2 virus accurately and efficiently in wastewater samples. Number one is wastewater samples. We receive those wastewater samples from other communities, and they are sent by Cree Health Board charter flights to the SACB for laboratory testing. Number two is micro pipettes. A pipette, we use a pipette to measure out and transfer precise quantities of liquid in volumes of milliliters or microliters. Number three is a centrifuge. It's a system we use to separate the solids from the liquids using centrifugal force. Patented cartridge technology, which is number four. The cartridge contains all the necessary reagents for sample preparation, amplification, and detection of the target pathogen. Number five is Gene Expert, PCR technology. The Gene Expert system is a diagnostics platform that utilizes real-time PCR technology to detect and quantify genetic material in biological samples. In conclusion, wastewater surveillance is a valuable tool to detect COVID-19, providing early warning signals, non-invasive detection, real-time data, and cost effectiveness. However, more research is needed to fully understand the accuracy and limitations of this approach. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your attention, and just to give you like a last say about these guys. These are local youth, out of school youth who are interested in science, and they are now happily working with the lab and with SEWI and learning more skills. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of you guys. You know, we've met before, but now I can see really like the whole spectrum of the activities of this area, and it's really nice to see. It's a lot of hard work, and thank you so much for presenting all you're doing today. I really appreciate it. Donc, pour notre prochaine invitée, on reçoit Émilie Grandam, qui est chef d'équipe du secteur de la recherche de la Commission de la santé et des services sociaux des Premières Nations du Québec et du Labrador. Donc, elle va vraiment venir nous présenter aujourd'hui le secteur de la recherche de la CSSSPNQL, si je la trouve. Émilie. Donc, c'est à toi.
C'est juste ça, je vais me dire si ça fonctionne. Non, c'est pas ce que je veux. J'ai de la misère avec mes multiples écrans. Attendez. Ça ici, je pense que ça va être la bonne. Est-ce que, Audrey, tu peux me dire si c'est le bon écran?
Je vois l'écran de ton PowerPoint, comme dans le PowerPoint.
Okay.
Mais je vois pas ton... Disons, ouais, là, je vois la porte. Ouais.
Oui, parfait. Et vous m'entendez bien?
Merveilleusement.
Parfait. Donc, hello, bonjour à tous. Merci à ERRSA d'avoir invité la commission à présenter ce midi à votre webinaire. Donc, je vais vous présenter un peu notre organisation, la Commission de la santé, et je vais vous parler un peu plus de notre secteur de la recherche et de nos activités. Donc, la Commission de la santé et des services sociaux des Premières Nations du Québec et du Labrador, c'est une organisation à but non lucratif. Nos bureaux sont situés à Wendake, qui est la communauté Huron-Wendat, située juste au nord de la ville de Québec. La commission a été créée en 1994 par les chefs de l'Assemblée des Premières Nations Québec-Labrador et notre mission, c'est d'accompagner les Premières Nations au Québec dans leurs différents objectifs en matière de santé, de mieux-être, de culture et d'autodétermination. Donc, ça fait bientôt 30 ans que la commission existe et elle a grandi, elle a évolué au cours des années avec tous les projets et les mandats là, qui nous ont été octroyés. On est présentement un peu plus d'une centaine d'employés répartis dans différents grands secteurs d'activité. Donc, on a un secteur de la santé, les services sociaux, le développement social, la petite enfance. On a une équipe de communication, une équipe aux ressources informationnelles, une équipe juridique et on a notre équipe à la recherche. Donc, la commission, donc ça fait partie de ce qu'on appelle les commissions et organismes régionaux de la PNQL. Donc, on a des organisations sœurs qui travaillent chacune sur un champ d'expertise particulier. Donc, il y a le Conseil en éducation des Premières Nations, l'Institut de développement durable qui va travailler plus en termes d'environnement et de territoire, la Commission de développement économique, la Commission de développement des ressources humaines et il y a aussi le réseau jeunesse là, qui représente les 18-35 ans là, des Premières Nations. Donc, on travaille, nous, la Commission de la santé, en collaboration là, régulière avec l'ensemble des autres organisations qui sont chapeautées par la PNQL. Donc maintenant, par rapport à notre équipe de recherche, donc le secteur de la recherche est devenu un secteur officiellement à la commission en 2004. Ça a commencé tout petit avec 2 personnes et notre secteur a aussi grandi là, depuis maintenant près de 20 ans. Donc, on est actuellement une équipe de 14 personnes et même il y a un 15e poste là, qui vient d'ouvrir. Donc, on est une grande équipe multidisciplinaire. On a des gens qui arrivent de l'épidémiologie, de l'anthropologie, des communications, de la santé communautaire. Donc, on travaille sur de multiples projets que je vais vous présenter à l'instant. Donc, nos champs d'activité sont assez diversifiés au secteur de la recherche. Donc, on œuvre en termes de gouvernance de l'information, d'éthique de la recherche. On fait des projets de recherche, on collabore à des projets de recherche avec le milieu, entre autres, universitaire. On fait de l'évaluation de programmes, on coordonne des enquêtes populationnelles, on fait de la surveillance de l'état de santé et on œuvre dans le renforcement des capacités locales aussi, qui est un de nos objectifs transversaux au secteur. Donc, je vais vous parler un peu plus de chacun de ces grands champs d'activité en vous parlant de ce qu'on va faire en 2023-2024, nos axes prioritaires pour la prochaine année. Donc, on en a 3. Donc, développer une stratégie régionale de gouvernance de l'information, poursuivre tout ce qui est le développement de connaissances, produire des informations fiables, accessibles, validées, tant scientifiquement que culturellement. Et notre 3e grand axe, c'est celui de l'accompagnement et du renforcement des capacités des Premières Nations. Donc, je vais aborder chacun des grands axes là, assez rapidement quand même. Je pourrais vous en parler longtemps. Donc, notre premier grand axe, c'est celui de la gouvernance de l'information. Donc, il faut que vous sachiez qu'à la Commission de la santé et des services sociaux, on a le mandat de coordonner une grande stratégie qui vise à mettre en place un centre régional de gouvernance de l'information pour les Premières Nations au Québec. Donc, un centre qui va répondre aux besoins et aux réalités des communautés ici au Québec. Et c'est une grande stratégie que l'on travaille avec l'ensemble des commissions et organismes régionaux de la PNQL. Donc, ce n'est pas seulement l'information en santé et en services sociaux, c'est c'est tous les types d'informations de tous les domaines confondus. Et c'est une grande stratégie qui a aussi un pan national. Donc, dans chacune des provinces canadiennes, il y aura un nouveau centre régional de gouvernance de l'information qui sera mis, un grand réseau sera formé à partir de tous ces centres. Donc ça, c'est vraiment notre axe prioritaire là, pour, je vous dirais, cette année, mais pour les minimum 3 prochaines années, là, pour cette grande réflexion collective là, que l'on coordonne pour les Premières Nations. Deuxième grand axe prioritaire pour nous, c'est le développement de connaissances et la production d'informations fiables pour les communautés. Donc, entre dans cet axe plusieurs activités. Donc, on a tout ce qui est le développement et la poursuite des enquêtes populationnelles. Donc, la commission, on coordonne depuis plus de 25 ans des enquêtes là, au sein des communautés des Premières Nations. L'enquête phare, celle que vous connaissez peut-être, c'est l'enquête régionale sur la santé, l'ERS. Donc, on est déjà au 4e cycle de l'enquête régionale. Donc, la collecte est en cours au sein des communautés. Et c'est une grande enquête qui permet d'avoir un portrait de l'état de santé de ces déterminants pour les Premières Nations qui vivent dans les communautés. On développe également une nouvelle enquête populationnelle qui va porter principalement sur le mieux-être des enfants et des familles et qui va venir combler un manque d'informations sur ce sujet. On a aussi, comme je l'ai dit, on fait de la surveillance de l'état de santé de ces déterminants. Donc, les Premières Nations se sont dotées d'un plan de surveillance propre, spécifique pour les Premières Nations au Québec. Donc, on coordonne ce plan de surveillance, on met à la disposition des communautés des données à jour le plus possible de différentes sources pour que les communautés, les nations et à un niveau collectif, on ait des données sur l'état de santé. On réalise différents projets d'évaluation et de recherche. Par exemple, les derniers projets de recherche qu'on a menés ont porté sur l'itinérance dans les communautés et on a fait aussi dernièrement une recherche sur le phénomène de la négligence, donc en lien avec la protection de la jeunesse. Donc, ces projets de recherche-là viennent répondre à des besoins exprimés par les communautés, là, des besoins de connaissances. On fait aussi beaucoup de collaboration à des projets de recherche externes. Je ne cacherai pas qu'on reçoit des dizaines et des dizaines de demandes là, par année pour collaborer, pour être impliqué dans des projets de recherche. Donc, bien sûr, on ne peut pas dire oui à l'ensemble des projets. On a vraiment des critères là, pour choisir et souvent, on y va en fonction aussi de nos capacités et ressources. Notre troisième grand axe prioritaire pour la prochaine année, c'est l'accompagnement, le renforcement des capacités locales et collectives des Premières Nations. Donc, ce qu'on essaie de faire, c'est de faciliter l'accès, mais aussi de soutenir l'interprétation puis l'utilisation des données par et pour les Premières Nations. Donc, on a mis en place différents outils. Par exemple, en lien avec notre plan de surveillance, donc on a un portail web qui est accessible, qui est sécurisé, accessible pour les communautés, sur lesquelles elles vont pouvoir consulter leurs propres données, les données de leur nation. On a aussi un outil qui s'appelle iZoom, qui est un outil aussi qui est en ligne, mais qui est vraiment grand public, celui-là. Donc, où on dépose des indicateurs là, de l'état de santé et de ses déterminants, là, vraiment ouverts à tous. On offre du soutien, du support conseil à notre clientèle, donc soit aux communautés, aux organisations des Premières Nations également, donc du soutien personnalisé. On soutient par exemple des communautés qui veulent faire elles-mêmes de la collecte de données, qui veulent sonder, consulter leur population sur divers sujets. On accompagne les communautés qui veulent aussi interpréter, analyser, utiliser de la donnée. Donc, c'est toujours du soutien ponctuel et personnalisé aux besoins. Et on a développé aussi, là, au fil des années, différents ateliers, différentes formations qu'on offre gratuitement aux communautés et organisations des Premières Nations et qu'on offre à l'occasion aussi à d'autres milieux là, institutionnels ou académiques. Donc, on a différents ateliers, par exemple, sur le protocole de recherche de la PNQL, un atelier sur l'utilisation des données, un autre sur le cycle d'une donnée et l'importance d'une bonne saisie des données. On peut aussi développer des ateliers, des formations pour répondre à un besoin spécifique d'une communauté. Donc, voilà un peu en gros là, nos objectifs et nos grands projets là, pour l'année en cours. Notre secteur, on fait beaucoup de publications, on a aussi beaucoup de documents de référence. Je vous mets ici nos deux principaux qui vraiment guident l'ensemble de nos travaux. Donc, le protocole de recherche des Premières Nations au Québec et au Labrador, là, auquel le secteur de la recherche de la Commission a grandement contribué à la rédaction. Donc, il y avait eu une première version en 2005, une deuxième version en 2014. Donc, c'est un instrument collectif. Ce sont des grandes lignes directrices où on retrouve l'approche, les principes là, pour faire de la recherche avec les Premières Nations au Québec. Bien sûr, le protocole de recherche de la PNQL ne prévaut pas sur ce que les communautés font. Donc, une communauté, une nation qui a son propre protocole, ses propres lignes directrices, donc vont toujours prévaloir sur le protocole de recherche de la PNQL. Autre document de référence pour nous, un incontournable maintenant, c'est le cadre de référence sur la gouvernance de l'information des Premières Nations au Québec, donc document publié en 2019, où on va retrouver la définition et la vision que les Premières Nations se sont données de la gouvernance de leur information et on va y retrouver des grands principes. Et ce qu'on souhaite faire avec la stratégie que je vous ai parlé précédemment, c'est de mettre en œuvre ce cadre de référence et ces principes. Donc, le secteur de la recherche, on publie aussi, à chaque fois qu'on a un projet de recherche, d'évaluation, enquête populationnelle, donc toujours soit un rapport, soit des infographies, des fiches, des vidéos qui sont produites, toujours dans un esprit de vulgarisation. Notre première clientèle, ce sont les communautés, les Premières Nations, donc on essaie de rendre l'information la plus accessible et utilisable par les communautés. Et toutes nos publications, nos documents de référence sont accessibles là, sur le site web de la commission, là, dans le centre de documentation. Donc, un peu pour conclure, là, je mettrai l'importance sur les outils qui ont été développés par et pour les Premières Nations, des outils qui ont été développés pour pallier un manque d'information ou pour pallier de l'information qui serait pertinente pour les Premières Nations. Donc, notamment les enquêtes populationnelles dont je vous ai parlé, hein, qui permettent des portraits régionaux, des portraits locaux, mais aussi des portraits nationaux des Premières Nations, puisqu'elles se déploient dans l'ensemble des régions au Canada. On a mis en place au Québec vraiment un système de rapatriement des données communautaires. Donc, chaque communauté maintenant a accès à ces données tirées des enquêtes populationnelles pour ses propres bénéfices. Autre outil, mécanisme vraiment important pour les Premières Nations, c'est le plan de surveillance qu'elles se sont dotées. Donc, plan de surveillance qui s'est inspiré au tout début par le plan de surveillance québécois, mais qui s'en détache de plus en plus par l'ajout de nouveaux indicateurs qui sont spécifiques et culturellement pertinents pour les Premières Nations. Et je vous ai mentionné le portail Prisme, là, qui est un outil de plus en plus utilisé par les communautés. On a mis en place aussi au secteur de la recherche avec les années un nouveau service qu'on appelle le comptoir de données, donc qui permet aux communautés et organisations des Premières Nations de faire des demandes statistiques personnalisées. Donc, si elles ont besoin d'une statistique pour répondre à un besoin précis, que la statistique n'existe pas dans PRIS, qu'ils ne la retrouvent pas dans nos publications, donc elles peuvent faire une demande spécifique pour y avoir accès. Et on va traiter, nous, avec nos analystes, leurs demandes et on va les soutenir dans l'utilisation de ces données. Et pour terminer, donc de plus en plus, on essaie de varier nos instruments de collecte, varier aussi les indicateurs qui sont produits pour se rapprocher là, vraiment de mesures qui seraient pertinentes là, au niveau culturel. Donc, voilà, c'est beaucoup d'informations. J'espère juste que ça vous a donné le goût de connaître un peu mieux notre organisation puis d'aller lire nos différents documents. Merci, Audrey.
Ben, merci à toi, Émilie. C'est vraiment un portrait super complet de la CSS PNQL. Puis moi, ça me permet encore plus d'apprécier l'étendue, comme je disais, de votre travail. Donc, merci. Merci d'être là aujourd'hui et de représenter si bien la commission. Juste pour dire que notre collègue, justement, Émilie, va devoir quitter vers 13h aujourd'hui. Donc, si jamais vous avez des questions spécifiques pour elle, je vous invite soit à la contacter avant 13h dans le chat ou à nous envoyer des courriels que nous, par la suite, on va lui envoyer les questions là, spécifiques pour la commission. Donc, merci. Et our last two panelists for today are from the Anishinaabe Moose Committee. It's Jamie Vincent and Joylyn Wabi. So I will, here I will, and where is your colleague?
We good?
There we go.
Great. Joylyn, do you want to start us off?
Sorry about that, everyone. I thought there was going to be an introduction, but I can introduce myself. I know there was a nice one done at the beginning, so miigwech for that, Audrey. So Kwe Zigwan Kwe Indigenous, Tikdo Dem, Wolf Lake First Nation, Dunjaba, Algonquin, Nishnabé Kwe, and Dow. So I am Algonquin. I'm from Wolf Lake First Nation. My clan is Caribou, and my name loosely translates to Spring Woman. And my English name is Joey Lynn Wabi, but everyone calls me Joey. So that's my intro. So we're going to talk a little bit today about our Anishinaabe Moose Studies project. And our presentation is titled Anishinaabe Knowledge and Governance for the Protection of Moose. So how did it start? So within this wildlife reserve, I think I'm calling wildlife. I just I could just hear somebody. There we go. So elders and land users actually noticed there was a decline in moose within the area that they live in, or that they have settled or are from. So with that, there was frontline efforts in 2019 and 2020 to address and block sport hunting access to the park. So how that was done was people stood outside of on the road and handed out flyers, talked to people coming in, and tried to share information about why it's important to protect the moose. And so what had come out of that were negotiations at the political level, so between the government and also the band council, chief and council, and that had led to a moratorium agreement. So there was a ban on sport moose hunting. And with this 2-year moratorium in 2021 and 2022, so within the reserve, wildlife reserve itself, the idea was that with the moratorium, there would be more studies done, based on the results. So would there be an extension of this moratorium or would there not be? And what had happened was we found out, more specifically, Wabamoko and her family and those that reside in there. By 2021, what happened was there was nothing. So there were no studies that were started or created. So that's where we had moved on from there and created the Anishinaabe Moose Committee. And so this committee is actually made up, started with 3 committee members. They started and, sorry, just keep getting pop-ups. I can't see the screen. So the park and the moose that were declining, it's a whole nation issue. So that was a discussion that they had, and they decided that it was not only within this, because we know that we are borderless. We don't, even before the Jay Treaty, we are borderless, so we're able to move around as Anishinaabe or Anishinaabe. So the idea is that it's not only contained to the park, but it moves beyond that. So it's a whole nation issue. So we have many Algonquin nations, mostly all in Quebec, with one in Ontario. So what had happened in 2021, we started the studies, and we focused our time on the preliminary report. And that report was to advocate not only to see what was going on, but also to advocate and say, hey, we need to extend this moratorium. And this study was done at the grassroots level to follow the guidance from the elders. So the elders were saying, it can come from chief and council, that's a voice for sure. It can come from, the government, that's a voice. It can come, but we need to talk to the people that are on the ground, that are actually living it, because they are the ones that are affected the most first. So this is a list of our Moose Committee that was put together by the elders and Shannon Chief. So she's from Barrier Lake, and then we have our other Moose Committee members here, and I'm going to say their names because I think it's important to acknowledge each one and their contribution so far. So we have Anita DeCourse, Mike Diabo, David Kostabish, Trisha Bazinet, Sean McLaren, Jerry Polson, myself, Amber Hine, Dale Benoit Zor, and Miles Jolly. So this whole committee is sorry, Jamie. This whole committee is the Ottawa River watershed, like most of the Algonquin Anishinaabe territory. And this is with the grassroots. What we do is we want it to be for the people, by the people, and with the people. So it's always guided by elders and the people that use the land. And we base our system, this system, on the traditional governance system, which was created within that territory. And with that governance system, everyone is included in the decision making, not only chief and council, not only the government, not only the people that have the loudest voice, but everybody. So this is the spider web governance framework that was worked on, and it's a teaching by Tina Naughty. She is Algonquin-Kwe from Barrier Lake, I believe. And she had provided this teaching, and it's been shared now. And Shannon or Waba talks about this teaching a lot, and it's the basis of the work that we want to do. So you see on the inside is the knowledge itself. And what the idea with the elders is that the elders wrap themselves in the knowledge and hold it and share it with females and males. And instead of putting women and men, we wanted to put females and males because that also includes children, youth, and older adults. And we also wanted to not forget about other genders. So we included the two-spirited within this model also. And as you move out into the circle, there's elders at every stage of the knowledge circle. And with the governance system itself, it's the whole framework is based and wrapped in the 7 grandfather teachings, or the 7 sacred teachings. So looking at respect, honesty, love, humility, truth, bravery, and wisdom. So we really want to ground ourselves in this as a committee, and also when we're working and trying to protect the moose. And when we had a retreat in the winter that just passed, and we talked about this idea of protecting the moose, and then I believe it was Trisha Bazinet, or it may have been Jamie, I can't remember who said it, but they had said, moose are their own beings and they can protect themselves. It's up to us to help them. So we came up, with the idea of, we look at land back, then we looked at moose back, and then we looked at water back. And then we talked about how it was like all connected and interrelated. So the preliminary report was our first step. And I believe that Jamie is going to talk about that next. So, miigwech.
Oh gosh, Joey, I got the chills when you were talking about that. That was great. So hi, I'm Jamie. I'm not an AMC member, but I guess I'm part of the support crew. So I'll talk a little bit about the partnerships and how all of this kind of unfolded. So we're partnered with Mamazing, which is a research center at Laurentian, of which Joey is the associate director. Also with Research for the Frontlines, of which I'm part of Research for the Frontlines, and we offer pro bono research support to frontline communities or organizations that are fighting for environmental justice and climate justice issues. And we do that with a network of research volunteers from universities across so-called Canada. And we've also partnered with Small Change Fund to help with fundraising to support this work, because it is expensive. It's a very large territory, so we need funds to support this. And there have been other fundraising efforts as well. And so, like Joey mentioned, the first year really was to build a knowledge base that would allow to advocate for an extension of the sport hunt moratorium. So to do that, we had to understand the state of the moose population, always reenacting traditional governance in the methodology, and bringing in Western scientific knowledge when appropriate. And so that happened through community visits throughout the territory in the summer of 2022. That was led by Waba and other AMC folks. They were 2-day workshops where traditional teachings were shared, and where it was a discussion-based sharing of stories and knowledge about the territory. There was also a survey, like a paper survey that people could fill out that related to moose health, moose behavior, population, and threats to the moose. And that survey was also distributed online. And so once all of that knowledge was shared and gathered, it was put together in the preliminary report, which you can find online at that address. And this is a very comprehensive and long report, but the main findings were that the moose population has been declining across the territory, not just in the park or in the wildlife reserve, but across the board. And that the direct threats that were noted are overhunting and too many permits being sold, so too much hunting pressure, a waste of moose meat and moose parts, poaching, and irresponsible forestry practices. Then there were also the emerging threats that are mentioned, so ticks and climate change, and the potential increase in mining pressure across the territory was also a concern as well. And this was all, focused around the moose, because this is kind of what started it, but the impacts are really observed across the whole ecosystem. All of the species are affected by these threats, and that really wasn't, we didn't lose sight of that everything is interconnected.
Thank you for that, Jamie. And so when we're coming together to support or to care for the moose, one of the things you'll see in the preliminary report, just before I start with this section, is the first sentence says, the moose are suffering due to colonialism. And I believe that's a really strong and impactful statement. And it's true, because if we are all connected and interrelated, you think about the phrase, all our relations, it's very true. So if we suffer from colonialism and oppression and assimilation as Anishinaabe people, then so do all our relations. So what our next steps are is that we're going to be we have started coming together to care for the moose. So we're sharing the results of the studies now that we had collated with the Algonquin Anishinaabe communities, mine included, which is Wolf Lake. Shout out to Wolf Lake, yay. Start of longer term studies in year 2. And we want to start to implement some of the recommendations from the preliminary report. So focusing on education, youth and elder knowledge sharing, and revitalization of the traditional governance system that I had talked about earlier with the spiderweb. So we wanted to leave you here with a support for the call to protect the moose. So this is a letter that is to Francois Legault, talking about the moose moratorium and saying, we need to extend this. There's more studies that need to be done. So, in layman's term, get her done. We need to not have sport moose hunting right now. We need to keep protecting the moose, or the hashtag moose back, I think, is really important. And I think it's something that we all can gather around and support. And, everyone, not everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of us love moose, right? Moose meat, moose nose, moose tongue, all of those wonderful delicacies. So, I think, and it's really important for us to work with our relatives and the ecosystem that we have. So, miigwech.
Miigwech, Joey and Jamie, for this presentation. Is it possible for you to share the link in the chat, so if people want to join the support, it would be really appreciated. And thank you for the great work you're doing. This is so important. I'm really happy to have you here today with us. So, donc, merci à tous d'être ici avec nous aujourd'hui. Thank you to everyone. Si vous avez des questions pour nos panélistes, ça serait le moment. So if you have questions for panelists, now would be the time. Comme je l'ai dit précédemment, Émilie Grandam de la commission devait partir à 13h. Mais si vous avez des questions pour elle, vous pouvez me les envoyer par courriel, puis je vais les transférer. Sinon, si vous avez des questions pour nos collègues ici, je vous invite à les poser maintenant. C'est aussi notre dernier webinaire cette année, donc ça a été toute une expérience, mais je pense que ça finit vraiment en beauté. Donc, Je vous invite à lever la main si vous avez des questions, des commentaires. Merci.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question for the one about the COVID and the wastewater treatment.
So that would be the SERI.
Okay. I'm curious about like how that test works. So if there is a positive result in the COVID wastewater, how do you pinpoint it to a household? Or can you?
Yeah.
Well, that is up to the Korea Health Board, pretty much. All we do is just do the sampling and provide the results for whatever.
Okay.
Pretty much, if the wastewater guys that brought the sample and it turns out positive, we report it to Reggie Thompson or one of the guys that watch over us.
Okay.
That,
So there's a reporting, like a process that's in place already.
yeah.
Awesome. Because I'm imagining like the system, like how it, yeah. Anyway, I just think it's really cool and too complicated for me, but I think it's really important. So miigwech for sharing that. It got me thinking.
Let's go to.
You want to add something, Preston, about the question? How do they pinpoint when the wastewater tested positive?
Oh, I mentioned about.
Yeah, is there a way to pinpoint into a particular household, or do you do that?
I don't know about the constable. I wasn't there. Started working there recently.
Okay, all right.
But we also detect other pathogens like RSV, influenza A, influenza B. But our main priority is COVID-19. Yeah.
Awesome. Miigwech.
Well,
Merci. Thank you. Elam, est-ce que tu as toujours une question?
Oui, bonjour, je suis Elam Mami et je suis professeure et doyenne à la faculté de médecine dentaire de l'Université McGill. J'aimerais demander si, je pense, la secteur de services de santé, parce que c'est plus notre domaine. Est-ce qu'il y en a des recherches qui fait dans la matière de santé bucco-dentaire et quelles sont, par exemple, les initiatives et comment les universités pourraient aider à avancer? Donc, ça, c'est ma question. Et moi-même, j'ai travaillé beaucoup avec communauté CRI dans mon rôle de chercheur GAD.
Je sais pas si la question était claire. I'm not sure if the question was clear, but Elam was asking about if you were aware of research conducted in communities related to
oral health research.
Oral health research.
Oral health, anything that is related to oral health, is there any initiatives in the communities in this regard, and how universities could help to promote research in this area?
Ça, je pense que ça serait peut-être plus une question pour la commission, comme c'est vraiment davantage dans leur mandat. Ouais, I think that would be... Donc, il y a le courriel dans le chat, si jamais tu veux écrire.
Oui, c'est bon, merci, très bien, merci beaucoup. Donc, est-ce que...
Vous aviez d'autres questions, d'autres commentaires? Does anyone else have questions or comments? Yeah, go ahead, Dante.
Yeah, this is more of
Moi,
a.
j'aurais une question.
Attends, Brigitte, il y a Dante avant toi.
Okay, sorry.
No, go ahead, Dante. Go ahead, Dante.
Hi, this is more of maybe a request. We are always looking for opportunities to have capacity building, and especially in the community, we need a capacity to monitor drinking water, especially for the camps during traditional holidays in the trap lines. We are looking for capacity to train us on monitoring and testing drinking water, and also for accreditation for the community. Because what we are doing right now is just monitoring our drinking water in the community, but that's when people go to their traditional hunting areas, they get their water from springs, and some of those springs sometimes are contaminated with cyanobacteria or algae. So the usual method to do testing is that we collect water samples and then send them to an accredited laboratory down south, maybe in Quebec City or Montreal. We want to have the capacity here as much as possible, so that people will have an easy access to testing facilities in the community. So if you know anyone or any agency that can provide training especially for local youth, like the ones we have here, I would appreciate any information about that. Thank you.
Madame Monette, je ne sais pas si vous essayez de nous parler, mais vous êtes sur mute, donc on ne vous a pas
Évidemment,
entendu.
évidemment. I was just saying, I don't know if Joey or Jamie are aware of anything, and I was wondering also if the research for the frontline, if it would be a mandate that they have to support communities in enhancing their capacities to do that kind of research project.
At the moment, we don't have any testing facilities. It's more investigative research, survey research that we have done. However, if you'd like to contact us and we could chat a little bit more, sometimes what we can do is just be the link between certain researchers in certain facilities that are on our email list. And then sometimes that connection can happen that way. But we don't have our own laboratory set up.
Okay. I will provide the website in the chat in a second. Et Brigitte, je t'invite à poser.
Joey had to.
Sorry.
That's okay. No problem. I was just thinking about like Mamazing and the work that we do. So we do a lot of very community-driven research. So and not too much capacity. Like, of course, capacity building within the research, that always happens. And also for ourselves, like Jamie, if you want to connect, research for the front lines with Mamazing, and we can figure and work with Dante and his group of youth, figuring out a way to get some funding, some type of, so they can do the work that they need to do in their community, I think would be wonderful. And I'm also curious about Quebec and the NEIHR itself. I know I'm very familiar with the NEIHR since we had applied for that also. Via Mamazing, and we were not successful. So I understand how the North, like the network environments of Indigenous health research. So I would not throw it back to you, but ask you also, Audrey, is there anything within the NEIHR that would be able to support the work that they're doing?
We're trying. We've been meeting with Dante, and I've been actually trying to connect him the team with some people that we have within our network. For funding, sometimes it's hard because most funding agencies do not fund Indigenous-led research projects. But this is something that we're always on the lookout. We have some advocacy projects also at the level of funding agencies that's part of our future strategic plan.
Awesome. I think that's amazing, and we would love to help any way we can. Definitely, we are in.
Oh, yay! Yes. Thank you so much. This is great. It's funny because I did my education at Laurentian University, and I was so glad that we had so many Indigenous teachers, which we don't necessarily have here. It's because I did Indigenous social work and Indigenous studies, and having that kind of mentorship really changed my whole vision and practice. So I was really glad for Laurentian for this, even though funding seems to be an issue now.
Agreed. Yeah, well, we're glad that you're doing the good work that you're doing, Audrey.
Thank you. Brigitte, je sais que tu as une question pour nos invités. Brigitte?
Oui. Est-ce que vous m'entendez bien?
Oui.
Oui, OK. J'ai une question pour n'importe qui voudrait répondre dans le panel. D'abord, merci beaucoup pour partager votre expérience. C'est très intéressant. Je me demandais comment vous arrivez à parce que je vois que tous les projets que vous avez présentés sont très ancrés dans vos besoins, et comment vous arrivez à vous entendre pour dire, voici ce projet-là, nous voulons le choisir plutôt qu'un autre. Comment se fait la décision? Combien ça prend de temps? Et comment vous vous organisez? Est-ce qu'il y a des processus formels ou je ne sais pas? Merci.
Do you need me to summarize a question?
S'il vous plaît.
No, I'm asking for Dante, Joey, Jamie.
Yeah, I could share our experience with the Goose project with the eelgrass. The eelgrass started, the eelgrass research started way back in 2016, but before that, there was a commission, a migratory bird task force, which is a group of elders in the community together with the band, the officials from the band. They decided that they need to address the problem of dwindling or decreasing goose harvest. And one of the main reasons for that is the disappearance of eelgrass. So it has like a society, like a community relevance from the beginning. They want to understand why is it that the geese are not eating eelgrass anymore, and why is it that they are avoiding the coastal areas? They used to have like a lot of geese there, and they used to have two goose break. We call it goose break here in the community, which is an annual holiday. It happens two times a year, twice a year, one in the spring and one in the fall. And they seem to be like a decrease in the geese going to the coastal areas, which is contrary to the studies done on the whole Canada, that the geese population is increasing. Why is it decreasing in James Bay? So the elders observed that they are not eating eelgrass anymore as they used to be, and that translates to lesser, skinnier geese, less flavorful according to the elders. And they decided we need a research. And then they have the research. They know that they need a research in combination with traditional ecological knowledge. And then they said that when they start working with the universities only are limited to a certain extent in the data that they can gather. And they are also limited in a very, in the shortage of the season and funding, etc. And then the data doesn't go back, or the knowledge doesn't go back to the community. And then they say that, oh, and aside from research, we need a research center. So from the beginning, it came as an idea from the elders. So that's for the ERRSA project. The project that Preston Babis is working is about groundwater, and erosion. So erosion, like it has both environmental and societal impacts, because Fort George, as Preston said, used to be the original community, but because of the construction of the hydroelectric dams, they moved the community out of that island. But still, the cultural and the place significant stays within most people here in Chisasibi. And Preston also mentions about unmarked graves there. So it is the community that identifies those research questions, those research needs, or those projects. For the duration of each project, it depends. As for ERRSA project, it continues to this day and probably will continue for the next 5 years. Short-term projects, maybe like for the erosion studies, I would say within 5 years to 10 years, because after the erosion study is done, then comes the mitigation. What should we do about it? So that's so far the experience of CIRI in terms of identifying the research, what research topics, how do we choose a project, and also the duration of the project. So it depends on the length of time the community wants the research, and until they have the answers to those questions.
Thank you so much, Dante.
Oui, ce sont les aînés dans ces deux cas-là qui ont mis le projet en priorité.
Oui, mais ça a été aussi une mobilisation communautaire,
exact,
si je comprends.
Exact.
Donc, c'est des besoins c'est pas eux qui choisissent un projet, c'est le besoin qui émerge. Et donc, à partir de ce moment-là, ce que l'équipe du CIRI font, c'est qu'ils mènent des projets de recherche avec les besoins émergents de la communauté. Donc, c'est vraiment, comme on dirait, là, du grassroots, c'est que ça part du bas avant d'être plus organisationnel, si on peut le dire ainsi. Là. And what about you, Joey, or Jamie? Like, I understand also that it was probably a community need that was expressed, and that was also experienced by different Anishinaabe communities.
Yeah, so I can talk from the perspective of research for the front lines. It always comes from the grassroots level or from people who are people or groups disproportionately impacted by climate change, environmental justice, climate justice. Those are the organizations that we serve. So that's how Research for the Frontlines chooses, or it comes into support of these kinds of projects. But yeah, it's very similar from my understanding. It's the elders knew that something was going on, something needed to be done, and then it's the community that kind of rallied and under WABA's project coordination kind of rallied around that need.
Thank you for this answer. And I think that also for like environmental and climate changes, from what I've read recently in the news, is that Indigenous communities are overly affected by those changes. So it doesn't does it mean that you work a lot with Indigenous communities in that regard?
We do at Research for the Frontlines, but we also would serve any other group that is fighting for climate or environmental justice needs as well. So that includes Black communities, disabled communities, poorer areas as well. But it has been lots of Indigenous groups that we've supported so far. Yeah.
Thank you. I don't know if you wanted to add anything on this, Joey.
No, I think Jamie summarized it very well. So yeah, miigwech.
Miigwech. Anyways, we're reaching the end of our webinaire today. Donc, on arrive à la fin de notre webinaire. Je vais en profiter pour remercier tout le monde qui a participé à la série cette année et aussi tout le monde qui a participé aujourd'hui à ce webinaire qui mettait de l'avant la recherche et les institutions par et pour les communautés. On a eu 3 présentations très différentes, mais très riches, qui contribuent beaucoup, dans le fond, au rayonnement là, de la recherche par les communautés, qui avancent leurs agendas, leurs besoins, qui fait beaucoup aussi de renforcement des capacités au niveau communautaire. Donc, pour nous, c'est vraiment un honneur là, de recevoir ces 3 organisations-là avec nous aujourd'hui. Donc, je vais vous souhaiter un bel été. Je vais vous souhaiter qu'on ait un été plus doux que ce qui a commencé en ce moment. Puis que vous êtes en sécurité aussi en ce moment, peu importe où est-ce que vous vous trouvez. Et au plaisir là, de se revoir l'année prochaine. On va avoir une autre série de webinaires, mais qui va vraiment se concentrer sur la recherche. Et j'ai bien hâte de vous la présenter. Donc, bonne journée à tous.